How I Learn English in 1 Month. Improve your English fast. Hello everyone, and welcome to English Practice Hub. My name is Adar. I am 26 years old, and I am from Turkey. Only 1 month ago, I could not speak a single full sentence in English. Not even something simple like, "How are you?" without stopping to think too much. I felt nervous when I tried to say something. I felt slow. I felt blocked. It was not easy. But today, after just 1 month, I can share my story with you. I can speak more clearly. I can listen more easily. I can express my thoughts in English with more confidence. This video is about how I did it. Step by step, day by day, with small actions that made a big difference. And here is something important. If I can do it in 1 month, you can do it too. You do not need to be perfect. You do not need to study for 10 hours every day. You only need a clear plan. You only need consistency. And you only need the courage to keep going. In this video, I will share my powerful story. I will tell you what worked for me. I will tell you the mistakes I made. And I will give you the exact routine I followed. You can copy my plan. You can use it for yourself. And you can see results in your own English. This story is not about magic. This story is not about shortcuts. This story is about discipline. It is about focus. It is about practicing every day. When you listen to my story, imagine yourself doing the same things. Imagine yourself building your own routine. Imagine yourself speaking English more naturally. This is not only my story. It can also be your story. And before we begin, let me remind you. Here on English Practice Hub, we share videos every week. Videos for listening. Videos for speaking. Videos for learning English step by step. So if you want to improve your English, subscribe now. Turn on notifications. And join our community of learners from all around the world. Now let's begin my story. Let me tell you exactly how I learned English in just 1 month. 1. The first week, struggles and first steps. When I first decided to learn English, I felt a mix of excitement and fear. Excitement, because I knew learning English would open many doors in my life. Fear, because deep inside, I believed it was impossible to make progress in only 1 month. But I told myself, Adar, you must try. You must give your best. Even if it feels hard, you will keep going. At that time, my English level was very low. I knew a few words. I could say hello, good morning, thank you. But when it came to speaking a full sentence, my mind became empty. I wanted to speak, but no words came out. I felt embarrassed. I felt small. It was frustrating. So in my first week, I created a simple rule. Every day, I would listen to English for at least 1 hour. It didn't matter if I understood everything. It didn't matter if it felt boring. I had to listen. I had to let my brain hear English again and again. The first day was hard. I opened a podcast in English. The host was speaking slowly, but still, I understood almost nothing. I could hear the sounds, but they were like noise. They entered my ears and disappeared. My brain could not hold them. I thought, this is too difficult. Maybe I will never understand. But I remembered something important. Babies do not understand the first words they hear. Babies listen for months before they speak. I told myself, Adar, you are like a baby in English. Do not give up. Just listen. Trust the process. So I continued. Every morning, after waking up, I brushed my teeth, washed my face, and made a cup of tea. While drinking tea, I played English audio. Sometimes news. Sometimes short dialogues. Sometimes simple stories. At first, I felt lost. But slowly, I started to catch small things. I recognized words like today, tomorrow, thank you. Each time I understood one word, I felt happy. It was like finding gold in the sand. During the first week, I also started shadowing. Shadowing means repeating what you hear. At first, it was impossible. The speaker was too fast. I could not follow. I felt stupid. But I did not stop. I pressed pause after each sentence. I repeated slowly. My pronunciation was terrible, but I didn't care. I only cared about trying. I remember one moment very clearly. I was listening to a podcast where the speaker said, "How are you today?" I paused. I repeated, "How are you today?" My voice was shaking. It sounded unnatural, but it was my first full sentence in English without fear. That moment gave me hope. The evenings were also difficult. After a long day, I was tired. My brain wanted to rest, but I forced myself to continue. I told myself, "Adar, if you want to improve fast, you must practice even when you are tired." So I listened to English while lying in bed. I didn't understand much, but I believed my brain was still working. I imagined English words entering my memory, piece by piece, even while I was half asleep. In the first week, I also wrote simple sentences. I bought a notebook just for English. On the first page, I wrote, "I am Adar. I am 26 years old. I am from Turkey." These were easy sentences, but they were my foundation. Every night, I added 3 more sentences. Sometimes they were basic, like, "I like tea. I like music. I am learning English." But writing them gave me confidence. It was proof that I was moving forward. Of course, I made mistakes. Many mistakes. Sometimes I spelled words wrong. Sometimes I forgot simple verbs. But I kept writing. I told myself, mistakes are not the enemy. Mistakes are the teacher. And with that thought, I moved forward. The hardest part of the first week was my own mind. My doubts. My negative thoughts. Every day, a voice inside me said, "1 month is not enough. You cannot do this." But another voice said, "Try. Do not stop. Do not listen to fear." I chose to follow the second voice. By the end of the first week, something small changed. When I heard simple sentences like, "My name is Anna," or "I live in London," I understood them immediately. This was new. This was progress. And this gave me strength to continue. I realized that learning English is not about being perfect every day. It is about showing up every day. It is about practice. It is about patience. 1 week was enough to prove that even the smallest steps create real change. So this was my first week, full of confusion, mistakes, and doubts, but also full of hope, progress, and new beginnings. 2. The second week, building routine and confidence. The second week began with more energy. After surviving the confusion of the first week, I felt stronger. I told myself, "Adar, you have already made progress. Now it is time to build a routine." I realized that motivation comes and goes, but routine is what stays. Routine is what pushes you forward when motivation disappears. So, I created a daily plan. In the morning, before checking my phone or social media, I listened to English. I played a short podcast while preparing breakfast. At first, it felt strange. I was not used to hearing English so early. But little by little, my ears became comfortable. The sounds no longer felt like noise. They started to feel familiar, like music that I had heard many times before. During breakfast, I repeated simple sentences in my head. I wake up at 7. I drink tea. I go to work. These were not complicated sentences, but they were connected to my real life. And that made them powerful. I realized that English does not have to be abstract. English can be practical. English can describe my day. In the afternoon, I practiced shadowing again. This time, I noticed something new. I was faster. I could repeat short sentences almost at the same speed as the speaker. It was not perfect, but it was progress. The rhythm of English was slowly entering my mouth, not just my ears. My tongue and lips started to move more naturally. I thought, this is how fluency begins. Not in one big step, but in small repetitions every day. I also started recording myself. At first, I hated my voice. It sounded strange. It sounded wrong. But I forced myself to continue. I recorded simple sentences like, "My name is Adar. I am from Turkey. I am learning English." Then I compared my voice with the audio from podcasts. I noticed differences in stress and pronunciation. I practiced again. Each time, I got a little closer to the original sound. By the middle of the second week, I was no longer afraid of listening. On the first week, English felt like a storm. Too fast, too heavy. But now, it felt like gentle rain. Still not completely clear, but no longer scary. I could catch more words. I could guess meanings from context. My brain was adapting. I also started writing more. Instead of only 3 sentences a night, I wrote short paragraphs. For example, one night I wrote, "Today I woke up early. I went for a walk. I listened to English songs. I learned new words. I feel happy because I am improving." Reading these lines the next day made me smile. They were simple, but they showed my progress. Confidence started to grow. I remember one specific moment. I was walking outside, and I saw a tourist asking for directions. Normally, I would avoid this situation. I would feel nervous. But this time, I thought, "Adar, you have been practicing. Try to say something." So I went closer, and I said slowly, "Can I help you?" The tourist smiled and replied in English. I only understood half of what he said, but I managed to answer. It was not perfect, but it was communication. And that was enough. This small victory changed everything. I realized that confidence is not built by waiting. Confidence is built by doing. Even if you make mistakes, even if you feel nervous, every time you use English in real life, you become braver. By the end of the second week, I had a clear routine. Morning, listen to podcasts while eating breakfast. Afternoon, practice shadowing for 15 minutes. Evening, write short paragraphs and record my voice. It was not a heavy schedule. It was simple, but it was consistent. And consistency is the key. Looking back, I saw that 1 month was not magic. It was about habits. It was about discipline. In just 2 weeks, my English had already changed. I could understand simple dialogues. I could repeat sentences faster. I could write more clearly. And most importantly, I believed in myself. This belief gave me energy. It gave me focus. It made me excited for the third week. I thought to myself, if I have already come this far in 2 weeks, what more can I achieve in the next 2? 3. The third week. Breakthrough moments and real progress. The third week felt very different. Something inside me began to change. During the first 2 weeks, everything felt heavy. Every word was difficult. Every sentence felt like a mountain. But now, in the third week, I started to feel lighter. It was as if the fog was lifting, and I could finally see the road in front of me. One of the biggest breakthroughs happened when I was listening to a podcast. It was a simple story about daily life. In the first week, I would only catch 1 or 2 words. In the second week, I could understand the main topic, but not the details. But now, in the third week, I suddenly realized something amazing. I could follow almost the whole story. Not perfectly, but enough to understand the meaning. I was shocked. I thought, is this real? Is this really me understanding English? It felt like magic, but I knew it was the result of practice. That night, I felt so proud that I listened to the same podcast again and again. Each time, I understood more details. Each time, the words felt more familiar. For the first time, English did not feel like noise. English felt like language. English felt alive. Another breakthrough came with shadowing. In the first week, shadowing was impossible. In the second week, it was slow and frustrating. But now, in the third week, I could shadow short dialogues almost in real time. I repeated after the speaker without pausing. My rhythm was not perfect, but it was close. I could hear myself speaking faster, smoother, more naturally. This gave me a new level of confidence. During this week, I also began using English more in my daily thoughts. When I was walking outside, I described what I saw in English. The sky is blue. The air is cold. I am walking to the shop. When I was cooking, I told myself, I am cutting tomatoes. I am boiling water. I am making rice. These were simple sentences, but they connected English to my life. This practice made English feel less like a subject in school and more like a tool I could use every day. One evening, something surprising happened. I was watching a short video in English without subtitles. Normally, I would turn on subtitles immediately, but this time, I wanted to test myself. I listened carefully, and to my surprise, I understood almost everything. Not every single word, but the meaning was clear. I smiled to myself and thought, this is progress. This is proof that listening every day works. I also continued writing in my notebook, but now my writing was longer. Instead of a few lines, I wrote half a page. I wrote about my feelings, my routines, my goals. Sometimes I even wrote motivational sentences to myself. Adar, keep going. Adar, do not give up. Adar, you are learning fast. These words gave me strength. They reminded me that my journey was not just about language, but also about discipline and self-belief. By the third week, I noticed another big change. My fear of speaking started to disappear. I no longer froze when I tried to make a sentence. I could introduce myself easily. I could answer simple questions. I could even ask basic questions back. It was not advanced, but it was communication. And communication is the heart of language. I remember a moment when I joined an online chat with other learners. At first, I felt nervous. My heart was beating fast. But when it was my turn to speak, I took a deep breath and said, hello, my name is Adar. I am from Turkey. I started learning English 1 month ago. The other learners smiled and encouraged me. They understood me. I understood them. That short conversation felt like a victory. It was proof that I could speak English, even if it was only a few sentences. The third week was not perfect. I still made mistakes. I still forgot words. I still misunderstood sometimes. But the difference was my reaction. In the first week, mistakes made me frustrated. In the second week, mistakes made me nervous. But now, in the third week, mistakes made me laugh. I realized they were part of the process. Every mistake was a step forward, not backward. By the end of the third week, I felt unstoppable. I looked back at the first day, when even "how are you" felt difficult, and I compared it with now, when I could understand stories, shadow sentences, and even speak with other learners. The change was unbelievable. I thought to myself, if I have done this in 3 weeks, what will happen in 4? What will happen in just 1 more week? The third week gave me something more important than vocabulary or grammar. It gave me belief. Belief that English is possible. Belief that I am capable. Belief that 1 month is enough to see real progress. That belief pushed me forward with more energy than ever before. 4. The fourth week, transformation and results. The fourth week felt like a different world. It was still me, Adar, the same person from Turkey, 26 years old. But something inside had changed. The fear was gone. The doubt was gone. What remained was a new kind of energy, a quiet confidence that I had never felt before. When I woke up each morning, English was no longer something strange. It was no longer something outside of me. It was now a part of my day, just like brushing my teeth, just like drinking tea, just like walking to the bus. English had become normal. I started each day with listening. But this time, I didn't only hear the words. I understood them. I could follow the meaning of entire conversations. I noticed how words connected, how sentences flowed, how rhythm made everything smoother. I could hear expressions that once confused me, and now they sounded clear. What's going on? I've got to go. See you later. These were no longer mysteries. They were part of my vocabulary. Shadowing became exciting. In the first week, I hated it. In the second week, it was a struggle. In the third week, it became possible. But now, in the fourth week, it was fun. I would play short dialogues and repeat them at the same time. Sometimes I even laughed, because I sounded almost like the speaker. The rhythm was not perfect, but it was close enough to make me proud. Writing also transformed. At night, my notebook was no longer filled with tiny sentences. Instead, I wrote longer reflections. Half a page. A full page. I wrote about my feelings, my dreams, my struggles. Today I spoke English with a stranger. Today I understood a whole story without subtitles. Today I felt proud of myself. These words reminded me of how far I had come. During this week, I pushed myself more. I spoke with people online whenever I had the chance. I joined language exchange groups. At first, my hands were shaking. My voice was trembling. But after a few minutes, the fear melted away. I realized that I could survive in English. I could introduce myself. I could answer questions. I could keep the conversation alive. It was simple, yes, but it was real. And real communication is the ultimate goal. One evening, something unforgettable happened. I watched a movie scene without subtitles, just to test myself. I had done this in the third week, but now I wanted to try again. I pressed play. At first, I listened carefully, expecting to miss half of it. But to my surprise, I understood almost everything. The words, the jokes, the emotions, it all made sense. I sat there with a smile on my face, thinking, this is it. This is the moment I was waiting for. The transformation was not only in my language. It was also in my mindset. I no longer saw English as a subject. I no longer saw it as a barrier. I saw it as a tool, a friend, a bridge to the world. This mental shift was more important than any grammar rule or vocabulary list. I also noticed something about mistakes. In the first week, mistakes scared me. In the second week, they frustrated me. In the third week, they made me laugh. But now, in the fourth week, I welcomed them. Mistakes became proof of learning. Every mistake showed me that I was trying, that I was stretching myself, that I was moving forward. Instead of hiding from mistakes, I collected them like treasures. By the end of the fourth week, I looked back at my journey. 1 month earlier, I couldn't even say, "How are you?" without stopping. Now, I could introduce myself, hold a short conversation, understand stories, follow movies, and even think in English. The change was huge. The progress was real. People around me also noticed. My friends said, "Adar, your English is better." My family said, "We can see how hard you are working." These words gave me even more motivation. They reminded me that effort is visible. Effort always shows results. I realized that learning English is not about talent. It is not about being special. It is about showing up every day. It is about listening, repeating, writing, speaking. It is about patience and consistency. That is the real secret. 1 month changed everything for me. 1 month took me from fear to confidence. 1 month took me from silence to communication. 1 month showed me that progress is possible, even when it feels impossible. And now, when I think about the future, I no longer feel afraid. I feel excited. I know that if I continue, my English will only get better. 1 month was just the beginning. The journey has no end. 5. Final reflection and motivational closing. 1 month ago, I was a different person. I was Adar, 26 years old, from Turkey, but I was afraid of English. I wanted to learn, but I felt lost. Even a simple sentence like, "How are you?" felt heavy. I could not speak without stopping. I could not listen without confusion. I felt nervous every time I tried. But today, everything is different. In just 1 month, I built new habits. I listened every day. I shadowed every day. I wrote every day. I spoke every day, even if it was only to myself. And step by step, those small actions created a big transformation. This is the truth. 1 month is not enough to master English completely. But 1 month is enough to change your life. 1 month is enough to break your fear. 1 month is enough to prove that progress is possible. Think about my journey. In the first week, I felt lost. In the second week, I built a routine. In the third week, I had breakthroughs. In the fourth week, I transformed. That is the power of consistent practice. That is the power of showing up every day. And here is the most important lesson. You do not need to be special. You do not need to be perfect. You do not need to study 10 hours a day. You only need to do something every day. Listen, repeat, write, speak. If you do this, you will improve. If you do this, your English will grow. Many people think learning English is impossible. They think it takes many years. They think they are too old. They think they are not talented. But I am proof that they are wrong. I am proof that even in 1 month, you can make real progress. If I can do it, you can do it too. Imagine yourself 1 month from now. Imagine if you listen to English every morning. Imagine if you shadow every afternoon. Imagine if you write every evening. Imagine if you speak without fear. How much better will your English be? How much more confident will you feel? How much closer will you be to your goals? The answer is clear. You will be stronger. You will be more confident. You will be proud of yourself. So what do you need to do? Start today. Do not wait. Do not say, maybe tomorrow. Do not say, maybe next week. Start now. Listen now. Repeat now. Write now. Speak now. Every small action counts. Every small action builds your future. And remember, you are not alone. Here on English Practice Hub, we are building a community of learners from all over the world. People just like you. People who are trying. People who are improving. People who are changing their lives through English. That is why I want you to stay with us. Subscribe to this channel. Turn on notifications. Follow every new lesson. Because each video is another chance. Each video is another step. Each video is another piece of your journey. Here you will always find listening practice. Here you will always find slow, clear English. Here you will always find real examples you can use in daily life. This is not about theory. This is not about complicated grammar rules. This is about practice. Simple, real, useful practice. So, if you enjoyed my story, if you found inspiration in my journey, do not stop here. Take action. Subscribe now. Stay with us. Keep learning. Keep practicing. And keep growing. 1 month changed me. 1 month gave me confidence. 1 month gave me belief. And 1 month can do the same for you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being part of this journey with me. This is not the end. This is only the beginning. Together, we will continue. Together, we will grow. Together, we will make English a part of our lives. I will see you in the next lesson.